Oh, there we go.
Okay, we're starting. Oh wait, so there's a nice little picture on there because there's like a 30-second delay.
Yeah, the Google Doc is loading.
All right, are we live? I'm gonna have to reboot my dashboard because I do not see anything. Hey, there we are. Let me just make sure we have sound. Everybody talk.
Hello.
All
Hello.
right, are we live?
Hello?
I'm gonna have to
Hello.
reboot my dashboard. All right, I think it's all right. So, hey guys, what's up? I'm Samuel Burkowski from Team 2869, and this is the second episode of F4. So let's introduce the co-hosts, starting with Anthony. Oh my gosh, I just realized I never changed the names. Nice.
Good job.
So, Grace, you're gonna be Jordan G from Team 1902.
Cool.
Alex, you're gonna be Anthony C from Team 997. And Bobby, you don't have a name.
Sorry. Oh, I don't get a name, huh?
Nope. Okay,
Just like,
I'll change that in post. Don't worry, everybody. We only have one person watching, so it's not too big of a deal.
yeah, our one fan.
Shout out to Andrew. I know he's watching.
Oh, we have 4 people watching now.
Oh,
All right.
We got 4 now.
Oh, like Quattro. Okay, so let me open up that doc. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So, let's start with the. Oh no, we did the introduction. Okay. Yeah. So everybody introduce each other. So let's start with Anthony C from. 97.
Hi guys, I'm not actually Anthony C. I'm Alex M from Team 1126 out of upstate New York, and I'm a lead software guy as well as I do a little bit of strategy and am a backup operator for this year's game.
And now, Jordan.
Yeah, so I'm actually not Jordan. I'm Grace. I'm from 2122 Team Taters in Wasteland, Idaho, otherwise known to those of us who live here as Boise. And I'm strategy lead, and I also do CAD machining and pneumatics.
And no name.
Oh, okay. I don't have a name, but some people call me Bobby.
All right, good.
I'm on Team 4404 in St. Louis, Missouri, and I do strategy and I help with a lot of the prototyping.
All right, so this week's topic is going to be effective strategies in the FRC 2016 game, also known as Stronghold. Essentially, I bet all of us watched a couple events and we've seen some crazy upsets this year. Especially, I know a lot of us were watching Mount Olive. I think that was the name. Yep. Okay. And we noticed that there was almost every single one of the quarterfinal matches were an upset, which is pretty insane. So, who wants to talk about the things we liked from the prior events?
I can start off.
All right, Alex.
Some things that I've liked so far that I've seen. A lot of teams are adapting really well to the fact that there should be defense and that there is defense being played this game as opposed to last year. Like, I believe it was Mount Olive today. I saw a couple teams getting very defended against when they were going to shoot for the high goal, and their defense robots would just kind of come up and just tap and misalign. So in elims, they ended up going and adjusting and just scoring low goals because they were really going to weaken the tower. That's one of the biggest things I've liked so far.
Is how like the strategies change from qualifications to eliminations.
Not just quals to eliminations, how overall a lot of teams have adapted from a game with absolutely zero possibility for defense to a game where defense is a very, very important, in my opinion, and we'll actually go more into depth of that later.
All right.
Yeah, something I saw, I didn't get to see too many matches of this regional, but at GTRC, Team Dave, they were actually doing a really good job of just cycling, and so they would score low goal, and that was connected to what you said about the defenses, how they're able to skirt around the defenses more and just keep cycling through and also get that breach. That's really important.
Yeah, the breach is really important.
Something I noticed when I was watching Palmetto and other regionals was that defense and breaching were these like really important things, and then shooting kind of came a little secondary. Because if you had to be strong in those, and I was really happy because we built a breaching and defense robot. So and it's really
Nice.
bad at picking up the ball. So
Don't want to tell people that, Bobby. Shh. I'll bleep it out. Don't worry. No, but in all seriousness, I did notice that a lot. Like, shooting comes second. A lot of people I know, when I first saw the game, I was thinking, yeah, defenses, those will happen. We'll just make a drive team that go over them. But shooting, that's the big deal. And now I notice, first of all, if you don't have vision, forget high goals. Forget it. It's not happening. You might be able to make them if you have a good batter shooter. But other than that, you're not going to be able to see the alignment line. It's not happening. Low goals are, again, harder than a lot of people thought. A lot of people's intakes are not powerful enough to go in just by rolling them, reverse. And the cycle times from going from the midline or the secret passage over a defense into a low goal will not allow you, a lot of times during qualifications, to get the breach, which is really important for the ranking point.
can I say something about the logos? I think that the fact that there's not a middle logo actually plays into it really big, because now you can only shoot on the sides, and one of them is right up against the secret passage where you don't have very much room.
Yeah.
So that only leaves one prime low goal shooting spot, and so that's really easy and really predictable to defend. So I noticed that when I was watching, and we built a low goal robot if we are going to score, but I don't think we'll be doing much of that.
Yeah, that was something I noticed a lot about how teams are playing defense, is that sometimes the team would slip into their own secret passage and then just peg the other robot they were defending against, causing them a foul even though the other robot had no part of it. That's kind of a huge strategy thing that played out.
Every time you touch them, it's 5 points for you.
Yeah. A lot of
Exactly.
people do not understand the secret passage at all. And I've noticed that. And that's definitely something I'm going to ask my scouts to document, is fouls with teams going in and out of the secret passage when they're not supposed to. Because there's going to be quite a bit of them.
Yeah.
And you
I
can
think-
use the secret passage sometimes. But you have to be smart about it.
I think a lot of teams are thinking it's just a free way to get around a defense if you can't do it. And in some cases, it actually can be. If, say, at the end of the match, if you need the extra time from just skirting through the secret passage to go scale, that's one of the instances where I'd say it's okay to get that one foul, because you're going to get 5 points to the other team, but you're still going to get your 15 points from scaling. Now, if you're doing that just a challenge, it's not worth it. But there is cases when it may or may not be acceptable to use your opponent's secret passage as just a quick way to skirt around some defenses.
Yeah, but don't forget, it's not just the 5 points. It's a tech foul, so you're also losing strength in your tower.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a tech foul?
Yeah.
Yep.
So...
I don't think that's actually as big of a deal as people would think, though, because every time I've seen it,
if they're close to getting, or you guys are close to getting a capture, then it is a pretty big deal.
the majority of times that I've seen a capture, it's been very far under. It's been -2, -3 strength on the tower, so the one tech foul isn't going to play that much of a deal. I have seen sometimes when it does get straight down to 0 at the last 3 seconds of the match, which then it would matter. But if you don't take that tech foul, you also might not get the capture anyways.
It's definitely, you have to be a smart driver. I mean, that's a very specific use case. If you do have a climber, I don't recommend thinking that's what you're gonna do, because that's just pretty stupid if you ask me. Unless it's really you have 3 seconds left in the match and you have to climb. I mean, how much longer does it take to go over something like the rock wall or the rough terrain or the ramparts? It really doesn't take that much longer.
I love how they're
Because the secret passage, although is a very small bump, that bump does slow you down a little bit. So when you factor in the amount those 2 little bumps slow you down, to the amount one giant bump will slow you down, it might weigh itself out. I don't know. Everybody has kind of quantitative data on that, but
It's going to vary a lot depending on your actual robot, because in some cases the one bump's going to be no issue, the one big bump. In other cases, it's going to present a huge issue. Maybe you do the uneven terrain or whatever other defenses, but there are some teams that I've seen that can only do, say, the low bar or the Portcullis or the Cheval de Frise, because their drivetrain simply is not built for the uneven terrain or the rock wall or the moat or the ramparts. So the smaller bumps might actually play a big role in that.
But is a team that, has those issues, that haven't built a drive team right for this game, are they going to have a climber?
They may or may not. I mean,
because climbing is the hardest part of this game.
stranger things have happened, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would definitely not rule it out.
Okay, well that whole thing was super situational, as someone said in the chat. That's probably not going to happen too many times this season. What we were more talking about is the teams that literally just think you can skate around the high goal to get a skate through the secret passage to score a low goal, and you cannot do that. Don't do it.
That's
Lose
not
points
worth
at
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
not.
lose 5 in game 2, come on.
Unless the
Totally
opposing
worth it.
alliance has bribed you, probably not the smartest decision.
Then you have bigger issues.
Yeah,
Then.
you might want to look into that then.
Lose 5 plus 2. Focus on the positive.
But yeah, though, there's definitely a lot of issues with the secret passage. And another strategy that I, for some reason, do not understand why some teams are doing is first of all, this game is really hard on robots. Like, there are plenty of robots. I know if you saw what was the team that had to leave eliminations because they broke?
Oh, the one whose gearbox exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was Bedford.
Bedford Express.
Okay, so if you look at someone like Bedford Express, a very, very high level team, they know what they're doing. They're a constant world competitor. I'm pretty sure I want to say they were either quarterfinalists or semifinalists in their division last year. A very good team.
Mhm.
And their gearbox exploded because this game is so hard on robots. Yet, for some reason, teams do not take the extra get rid of the load on their robot by going through, say, the drawbridge or the sally port on their way around. So through cycles, what I've seen is teams say go for the rock wall. They'll go for a rock wall. They'll just ram right over it. They'll go back, make sure they have the speed, and then they'll turn around, go backwards, so that they can go really fast over it again. With the amount of time that they spent going backwards, lining up again, they could have easily just skated right through the drawbridge with less wear on their robot, and just a much easier task on its own. So I don't know why teams haven't been doing that.
The drawbridge you have to be very careful on, though, because unlike the practice ones first recommended to me to get it out of plywood, the Lexan ones behave very differently, and they can actually launch lightweight robots pretty far up in the air. And they're not actually smooth because they end up having sort of a bump in them from just the hinging and the way it will bend down. And a lot of it also comes down to visibility issues. It's a lot easier to see if you're lined up for like the rock wall or the uneven terrain as opposed to the drawbridge or the sally port. And if you don't have a camera or your camera's out, that's going to be very difficult to line up.
That is true. One thing I saw that I really liked was a couple teams had fiberglass rods on their robot, sticking on both corners, and I think that's a really good idea for anybody, just because the visibility issues are really bad in this game. The only defense that I think is better than we all thought was pretty much the portcullis, just because it's basically clear. But other than that, the drawbridge is awful. Sally port's pretty bad, and it's rough. It's not an easy game to see.
Yeah,
I know.
The Cheval's also tripping people up too. I saw that a lot at Auburn Mountain View in the PNW this weekend.
What's crazy about the CVR is that you think, we have a mechanism that pushes it down. So we just use our claw to push it down, and then we drive right over it. It's not easy to line that up. I would say it's almost easier for us to aim a high goal than it is for us to aim our shooter to push down the CVR. Just because of the angle you're trying to look at it. You're trying to look at it basically head on at all times. And the fact that you have really no depth control. Because our ultrasonic sensor was not going to work on this Raleigh Freeze because of the way that it's done. And unless you have a spy helping you out, or an overhead camera like we built, it's going to be really hard for any team to push it down in the right place. You're going to be pushing down either too forward, too back, and it's not an easy defense at all.
What do you think about just like driving up until you hit the front of the Schiffeldefree and then putting your arm down?
I saw that strategy work a little bit, but again, it's not perfect, and you might get a foul for it just because of how much the CVRs have been breaking, and it's partly because of that. So if you do manage to break it, that is I think it's a red card. So you don't want to do that. I believe it's a red card. Breaking a field element.
I think so.
A lot of the Cheval issues, though, of like being hard to line up, they come a lot down to robot design as well. Because you can have robots that can just be within, I don't know, let's say 2 foot by 2 foot box and still make it. It's very dependent on your robot.
That's true. You could also just have like 20-inch wheels and drive right over it. I mean, come
You
on.
could.
Yeah.
I would not recommend that, but
Who cares if it breaks? It's not your problem, right? You don't have to fix it.
The red cart might be.
But yeah, I'm looking that up real quick. Anybody want to continue with something else? Do not know. Anything too crazy.
Something that you can go.
all right. One thing I do like about the Portcullis is competitions as opposed to practice. They seem to be a lot easier to open because you have, I believe, Lexan on Lexan or something similar on the actual ones versus plywood on plywood. So it ends up being a lot easier to open. And you actually end up seeing a lot of teams throw them straight up in the air, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, it is actually pretty funny.
Did you see the team that drove straight through the portcullis? Like knocked it?
Yes, I did actually.
That's my strategy.
I at Suffield Shakedown, a couple teams took down the drawbridge, the portcullis. It's pretty funny too. I really hope it happens at my regional, just because, just hysterical.
I can't remember if it was week 0 or at Palmetto, but one team got Tortuga. They got their picker caught up in the portcullis and it basically wedged them in half. That was pretty funny.
Nice.
Robot design, people. Robot design.
They took it full speed, tried to lift it. Their picker slipped out. It was pretty funny.
Okay, let me look at what our plan for today was. Okay, so we got the things we liked from prior events. What did you not like about this game so far?
I guess I can start again. I don't like teams playing defense except they're not doing it well. I like the fact that they're trying, but they're not doing it well, in my opinion. Like Mount Olive today. I saw a team hit a high goal shooter once for maybe 3-4 seconds, back off. That's all good. You don't want to get that pinning foul. But then they didn't go back and hit them again. You could have easily prevented high goals like that just by hitting them and misaligning them over and over and over. And I think they ended up losing that match. And they probably would have won it if they had just played smarter defense. Defense is good, but it needs to be smart, in my opinion. And that's not been happening a lot.
Does the pinning rule, does that have to be along the wall? Or is it just hitting them?
Mm-mm.
It's
not.
They issued a rule update that basically says it prevents your opponent from moving out of a enclosed area. So if I say park behind you on the batter, even though I'm not touching you up against a field element, it's still considered pinning because you cannot move.
I see.
Yeah, one thing I didn't like was because of the lack of visibility, lots of teams were just colliding, alliances were colliding with each other, and there's just a very huge lack of communication, especially in qualifications, because you haven't planned out your alliance ahead of time. But that was a major issue, and that definitely slowed down some alliances.
Okay, I did look up the rules. So G12 does say that you can get carded either with a yellow card or a red card for destroying a field element, whether this be a boulder or defense. I did see a red card issued when the portcullis did fall over, so
Makes sense.
yeah, you have to be really careful of that, because a red card literally destroys the entire match for your team, so you gotta be careful about taking down the portcullis. As fun as it is, it's not good. So yeah, honestly though, I don't think there's too much that I haven't liked from this game. It's a really good game.
Yeah.
I mean,
One other thing I didn't like, the teams that literally just have their autos programmed to just go for it until the end of auto. That's not smart, because you're going to end up either risking damaging your own bot or, worse, other people's equipment. There's no specific rule saying you can't, but it's still not the most GP thing to do.
You know, speaking with that is, there's been a lot of talk about that, and what I don't understand about it is, why are teams just starting to realize this? I mean, this was a problem in 2014, This was a problem in 2013. This was even a problem last year. I mean, robots have always banged really hard into driver consoles during autonomous. So, people are freaking out over that. Chief Delphi first even put it in their blog, I believe, this week. So make sure that you had Velcro at the bottom of your laptops and gamepads. But the bottom line is, it's not a new problem at all.
It's not a new problem, but I think it's a much more prevalent problem this year because encoders frequently will slip on some of the defenses depending on your drivetrain. So programming say, all right, I just want to go just enough to get over the defense isn't actually good enough for a lot of defenses. So that's why you end up with teams saying just go straight forward. In prior years, teams generally did not program their auto to just drive straight forward until the end of auto, which is where the issue comes in.
Right. Because like in 2014 and 2013, you're trying to shoot to a goal, and with the exception of the people who lined up in the low goal in 2014, you have a certain stopping point for when you position to shoot.
Well, there was a bonus in 2014 for just driving forward.
Yes, there was, but a lot of the teams wouldn't gun it full forward either.
No, yeah, because you have to really do 100% this year, which is, I think, the big difference between the other years. And, yeah. I remember at the week 0, they did have a real field perimeter, so we did get the robot, bumping into the wall full force and how much it does to your actual equipment. And it is a pretty big deal. So if you don't have Velcro on your driver stations, put it on now. Like, do not think, oh yeah, we'll get to it eventually. Go to the event, put your laptop down, and then watch it fall to the floor and break. Because it very much might.
Two thoughts on that. Don't get crappy Velcro. You can get industrial strength Velcro that will hold it on through probably an earthquake.
True.
And if your equipment, for whatever reason, does start falling, you can cross the starting line with no penalty for equipment safety or personal safety.
That's true. Yeah.
So catch falling equipment.
Just go for it. I mean, it would be a good catch. I'd like to see the video. Because as soon as I'm just picturing as soon as a robot rams into a driver station, a person like diving forward to catch their falling laptop. It's really epic. So definitely once you do that, get some video of it, post it on Chief Delphi. I'll share it. A gift card actually, so anybody can do it.
Just another contest for Delphi, you know.
I got my
And
Chili's
such
gift
the-
cards. Chili's.
The equipment contest is born.
Let's start the thread.
Something that I didn't really like about these ones were two things. The robots that just sat there in autonomous, and I get that if you are going to play defense and you want to stay there so you can just drive back through your own secret passage as fast as you can, but they would like position themselves in front of an easy to drive over defense, like the rough terrain or something, and then they wouldn't just have a code like you guys were saying, that just drives straight forward. You could get 10 points just for doing that. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but there might have been some purpose behind it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they might have been working out their auto, maybe. Maybe they didn't have their times on long enough, didn't have 100%. Maybe they have one side of their robot goes a little faster than the other, and if they try to go over one of the defenses, they'll just run right into the dividers. I don't know. It is a problem for some people that one side goes faster. So
Yeah, that's, for some reason, our robot does that a little bit, but I think we're just going to do the go straight for quite a while. We'll try not to
So,
smash.
Bobby, what you're telling me right now is you're the team that is breaking our laptops.
Pretty much, yeah.
Great.
That's actually our game strategy.
I have an idea. Everybody put limit switches in the front of the robot. Okay.
It doesn't help the impact, unfortunately.
Turn off your robot when it hits.
Instantaneous braking.
Oh my god. You would just destroy the limit switches. That would be what happened.
Actually, if you get the Vex Pro button push sensors, they're actually very durable, we found.
Really?
Yep.
Like the one
Your
that you have on like I think 254 had it on their 2014 robot to detect the ball, if I can remember.
It looks
We had one of those.
it looks literally like a button that says Vex Pro on top, and they work wonderfully.
It looks like a toy almost, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. We're using one Vex EDR sensor. We're using their potentiometer, and it's working pretty well. So thumbs up for Vex.
Yeah, Vex
And
does have nice products.
Vex has a lot of nice products.
Yeah,
They've
not really
kinda-
the planet's meeting, but
and who cares? They've totally changed the game of FRC. Really, they have. I mean, with the introduction of like X shafts, even. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, they were pretty much the company that pioneered that. Versa planetaries, they're crazy. I mean, how many you guys are all using them on your robots? I'm sure. I mean, pretty much everybody does. And
yeah,
they changed the game. They did.
we've actually switched over to, I believe, all Andy Mark gearboxes and stuff,
Whoa.
just because they're very nice quality. We found.
It's dangerous. We had one problem with Andy Mark this year. They didn't provide a manual for their pneumatic upgrade kit.
Did I say Andy Mark?
Yeah.
I meant Vex Pro. My bad.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, we switched from Andy Mark.
Yeah. We've had some issues with some Andy Mark products. Tough Box Nano seating up. Well, we had a bunch of those. But I think they fixed the nanos up a bit this year. But that has nothing to do with today's episode. Let's get to the next thing. So, high goals versus low goals. We kind of spoke about this. But I think we should talk about it a little more. So, let's start with point values. High goal, 5 points. Takes a while to line up. Low goals, 2 points. You can kind of just dump them in. Which one's better? Go.
I think it depends on if you're playing against defense. That really matters because the defense will shut down, if it's good, shut down high goal shooters. It's just so hard. The teams, all they have to do is hit you on the corner and you're like completely 90 degrees away from the goal. But I guess if you can shoot from the outer works reliably, like 118 showed in their video, so if you're that good, then you can. I mean, I think it would be pretty fast because then you don't have to drive all the way up to the low goal.
Yeah, a cool strategy I saw with one of the teams is they had the way that their shooter worked was that they actually shot from the side, so they would drive up forward, turn around or turn 90 degrees, and then they couldn't really get pushed forward and backwards because they were up against the sidewall, and they were pretty much defense free where they were, so they could always make a shot. I forget what team it was, but it was very clever. It was a very clever design.
Yeah.
But yeah, defense is going to be really, really important as the weeks go on.
I think for regional levels, I don't think high goals are really worth it because in prior years, high goals have been worth it because they have very wide margins for error as well as much higher point values. Whereas this year, you have a very, very, very narrow spot to get it into, as well as you're only getting 2.5 points, or times 2.5 times as many points, if that came out right, per high goal as opposed to low goal. And the real value when it comes to a limbs is coming from the weakening the tower, not from the actual points themselves. Because you're going to get 25 points for a capture, which is easily going to make up the difference in high goal versus low goal in a limbs.
Yeah, and it's just like an aerial assist, whereas the high goal did have a much higher point value than the low goal. To keep cycle times down, you got to score in the low goal just to keep things going.
Yeah, and even aerial assist was a way easier goal to score in. There was not much room height-wise. It was pretty tight that way, but length, it was just crazy. You had the entire field, basically, to line up with. And I think we're kind of back to the 2012-esque lineup period where, again, it's really hard to do without vision. And really, teams, if you don't have vision, just forget high goals right now. Just don't even think about it. Figure out how you can make fast low goals.
I know of a team that has the most, the sketchiest vision program ever. It's not vision. Basically, they have the camera solidly mounted to their shooter, and then they have pieces of tape on their monitor. And if the goal is near that piece of tape and you're that far away, then you shoot there. It's like an old-fashioned rifle system. It involves tape.
Nice.
I don't think you necessarily need vision for high goal. I think you can do it if you have a set point that will never move and will not be impacted by defense. So say if you're... Nope, not even the batter, because the batter, it's not a safe zone. You still can get hit there. and probably hit enough to impact you. If you're like, who did it? I think it was Mars that I saw doing it. It's 26-14. They would start in the spy bot position, and they could shoot a high goal from there. If you can get back to that spy bot position, you're going to have a set position where defense won't really impact you other than getting in front of you. So if you can shoot over that, you'll be good. As well as it's a known position, so you don't need vision for it. You just literally need to drive until you cannot drive further. So I think you can do high goals without vision in cases like that. I don't think if you want to just shoot from the courtyard, you need vision for that, though.
I think one big thing is a lot of people saw right in the manual that the defenses were a safe zone to shoot from, but refs haven't really been calling it. They haven't been calling fouls for hitting people while they were sitting on a defense. And if you were a team that your entire strategy involved shooting from, say, the middle defense 3, and you can now not make goals because they're not calling fouls, that's a problem.
That will change based on regionals too, different refs.
True, yeah.
And if it happens to you in a match and you bring it to like the head ref's attention, they will most likely start paying more attention for those.
Yeah.
So you might lose out on 1 or 2 matches, but you should hopefully have the right calls by the end of the day.
Refs have a hard game.
They do.
Hard job this year. Along with Field Reset, I've seen some really. I've been watching Field Reset a little bit. It's also really, really fun to watch when they take the defenses out and then the wheels and when they slide in. It's really satisfying. I don't know why. But the most frustrating task for Field Reset this year is putting those balls in that midline. There was times when I'd see the guy try to do it 10 times, and I was starting anxious for the dude. Those rings are just not big enough. I haven't seen one in real life, so I don't know what they even look like. But they're supposed to be the little rings that sit on the midline, and whatever they're doing, they're not doing their job very well because it is just hard.
Yeah, at Auburn Mountain View, I saw one Field Reset volunteer put them on, and then as soon as the match started, 3 of them just started rolling off.
So
so sad.
frustrating.
Yeah.
That could make 2-ball automatas way harder than they already would.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. Is that a field fault?
I would err on the side of no, because if the match started in proper configuration, you're not really going to be able to prove that it's not a robot action that caused it.
How would a robot, if a robot never touched it, then it could
Okay,
be a robot action.
I swing my hand in front of a piece of paper. Don't touch the paper, but it moves. I think if it's proper when the match starts and then this match starts and then they move, I don't think you're going to get a field fault or an arena fault on that. If the match started in them in the incorrect position, you might get your field fault then.
Saw a couple field faults this year.
Yeah, there've already been several, I feel like more than last year.
Last year, what could really break? I mean, there really wasn't much to the field last year. I saw a team stab through a recycling bin. That was fun. But other than that, I mean, there really wasn't too much to break, other than noodles, those things.
Yeah, and FMS issues could cause that. We had one field fault at one of our regionals last year.
Yeah, FMS issues. Speaking of which, the new radios, aren't they amazing?
No, I hate the cold boot up time. The cold boot up time is horrible on them.
45 seconds, come on.
For some reason, it feels longer than last year.
Last year was around 30, so it is.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not just me.
No, it's not.
I don't like these new radios. I like the size of them, but the cold boot up time is too long for my liking.
I don't even like the size of them, too, because if you're going to use, say, a network camera, or even 2 network cameras, you have to get a switch. Which essentially just ends up being your radio from last year, but still. I like the fact that there was extra ports.
I think, though, the majority of teams are not using IP cameras. Most have moved to USB cameras by this point, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So I don't think the lack of Ethernets is a huge issue.
But also some coprocessors communicate over Ethernet.
Some do, but that you still have one slot for a coprocessor. If you're having
That's
multiple coprocessors on your robot, you may need to reconsider some of your design decisions.
What do you mean? We have multiple coprocessors on our robots. We have to refigure out our. I mean, one of them is just for the LEDs. So...
That should not be run on Ethernet.
No, it's not.
That's good.
Yeah, no, it's run on USB. So, it's awesome. LEDs, guys. Best part of our robot. We don't need to shoot because we can do RGB. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, if you ran it over Ethernet, your robot shuts down or freezes in the middle of the match, but it's still blinking. Yay!
Yes.
Like even some of the older networking protocols like I2C are more than enough for most coprocessors with what you should be doing on them. The majority of the time that you're going to want USB or Ethernet is most likely vision tracking.
Yeah. It's like a Raspberry Pi or something, but even that you can connect over USB. And even I think you connect it, I want to say you can connect it over, I forget what the name, I think it's IC2 or whatever.
I2C, yeah.
That guy. He said the right thing. Okay, so we are really getting off topic today. The next thing that we haven't talked about yet is how important is scaling? Who wants to start it off?
I'll talk about it.
There you go.
I think scaling is important in... I don't know how to explain this. Like, I think it's going to just become almost a commodity among, like, the elite teams at Champs. Like, so many teams are going to be able to do it. But I think at regionals, it does make you stand out. And being able to do it successfully, a lot of teams try, but they can't do it fast enough or whatever. So if you can do that successfully, it's just an extra 15 points. And that really helps because a lot of matches are pretty close. Especially with the low scores, that's a higher percentage of your points. So we would have liked to do that. We didn't, but we would like to do.
Yeah, and having a robot that can both do low bar and scale and have a reasonable drivetrain is going to be huge.
Yep. Scissor lifts are crazy this year. I don't like them. I voted against them on my team, but a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
We are cheese-caking a climber on our robot with our withholding allowance. It's really simple. Basically, you can read about it in our engineering notebook, but basically it's just a 36-inch tall cylinder, and it deploys up. We hook on, and then it goes down, and we're hung. And it works. It carried me, so we're good.
I think scaling, I don't think at your average regional it's going to be that huge of an impact. I think it might make a difference in, say, finals. Where it's going to show really is going to be Worlds and Einstein and Fields once they start to get to elims. I don't think that you're not going to have a shot at getting to Worlds without one, but I think you're going to have a much less of a shot of being on a winning alliance at Worlds without one.
I mean, the thing is, though, even at a lower scoring regional, say, I think Virginia was a pretty low scoring event this year. Forget Virginia Hats. I don't remember. But the scores are like 70, 80, even in eliminations. And 15 points is a really, really large point value. And it's pretty reliable, most people's scalers. So maybe that's good on a lower end regional level, but I don't know, scaling's hard. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I feel like scaling for a lot of teams too is a last ditch resort to actually try and win a match. I feel like there's a lot of things that teams are going to try and do before they go and scale, because scaling is very risky on for a robot. Like, I know I was watching GTRC, and I believe that 1511's climber, I've not confirmed this with them, actually stripped some mechanism on the inside during one of the elim matches, because if you looked, they just fell straight down, but their hook was still attached, so their hook had not come off.
Ooh.
Oh.
So it's very risky on a bot.
Yeah.
It's flashbacks to 2013 when you saw some of those robots fall off the top of the tower.
Wasn't that also Bedford, whose gearbox exploded and also fell
Oh
off
my
the tower?
gosh,
2013?
that was Bedford.
That was the scariest thing I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, Bedford, you guys are not having good luck with games that involve climbing. That was them.
Yeah.
And then it just started smoking. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a danger. Not as tall as the tower in 2013. And most people are not at a 45-degree angle. But still. That's still a scary thing when your robot's airborne. And also, you gotta have taller people take it off the tower.
Yeah.
So that's why I voted for the climber on our robot, because I'm 5'4", therefore I would not have to be the person to lift the robot every match. So that was my main reason for decision on that one.
Luckily, my drive team is like 6'2", 6'3", so they don't have to worry too much about that.
Nice.
Do you guys all have climbers?
We are cheesecaking one on.
Yeah.
Grace, you guys.
Yeah,
Alex?
we have some options.
Can't talk about that.
Oh my gosh. From one
Watch
of
us
those
in Pitt-
teams.
Shameless plug for Watch Us
Yeah.
in Pittsburgh this week.
Watch
Yeah,
us in NYC this week.
We were, I can't say for sure. We may or may not have one, but if we did.
All right. Speaking of, no, let's not dive into a different topic. Let's go to what makes a winning alliance. We're gonna start with Bobby.
Oh, okay.
No
We
pressure.
kind of talked about this in the Slack chat, but I think that having solid defense, whether that is just another robot that doesn't normally play defense and you just tell them to play defense, or a robot that's used to playing defense, just if they can play good aggressive defense, I think that'll be important. I think that's why some of the match scores are so low. It's because not as many people are focusing on offense. They're getting stopped by other robots. But at the same time, winning alliance has got to be able to just cross all the defenses and put some balls in the tower or boulders in the tower, whether that's low goal or high goal. Just try to get a capture, because the team that gets a capture, I don't think I've seen a capturing team lose.
That's right. So pretty much, it seems like the same. If you're able to capture and breach in an elimination match, you win. Because that's, 50 points? In elimination?
45.
45
45.
points.
And it's not just a limbs that's important for. Top 8 has always been averaging more than 2 RP a match, from what I've seen. So you need to get those breach and or capture points if you want to be top 8.
Yeah.
The
Definitely.
capture points in quals are really, really rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to get so lucky for that to happen.
You have to have a couple good mobile shovelers.
I think in quals, they're much easier to get if you have the right alliance. Because in quals, people are playing a lot less defense.
True.
Whereas once you get to a limbs, you're going to have a harder time with defense.
A lot of times it comes up down to, like, did you guys figure out strategy while you were in queue? Have you guys played together that day? A lot of factors play. I know, like, even us at Suffield, we had a couple of games that we did where we were able to get a capture. And that was mostly because we worked with the Alliance before. And at Suffield, there was just a filler alliance, so what we ended up doing with them for a couple matches is we just made sure that we were always the right alliance. So that was fun. But basically, as long as you work with your teammates, a capture is definitely possible in qualifications. And 4 ranking points in one match is really, really good.
That's the equivalent of just winning 2 matches.
Yeah. So that's how you're top seed at an event, pretty much. You can do that a couple times, almost guaranteed.
But you'll probably be guaranteed, like, if you breach every time and then win a fair amount of your matches, like most, you're going to be guaranteed a pretty high seed regardless.
Mhm.
Because there'll be teams that get, or alliances that get 0. They lose and they don't get a breach. And so if you get lucky and you get paired with a bunch of really good teams and they all work together really well, you could try to go for the capture, but I think you got to focus on the breach and the win first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Skunks was
definitely.
able to take that to number 1 seed at Auburn Mountain View yesterday, even though they lost, I think,
As
2
far
or
as
3
I-
matches.
As far as I know, every rank 1 seed at the end of quals has been a low bar capable breaching bot to some extent.
Yep.
I feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know,
Well, until
That's-
next week, because our robot's no longer logo capable, so don't worry. Number 1 seed right here. Going from last to first, guys.
Palmetto was actually kind of weird.
shameless
because
plug.
No, we
I-
were really last year, though, so that's not even a joke. 61 out of
watched-
61, guys.
I watched the FRC Game Sense with the mentor from 179.
Wait, we don't talk about that.
And-
Joking, continue.
And he said something about, like, I can't remember. Oh yeah, he said that their shooter could kind of telescope down into their robot so they could go into the low bar, but they never did during the entire competition. So basically, they won and they were the number 1 seed, but they never went low bar.
Yeah.
So it is possible, but you want to be low to the ground anyways for going over
Yeah.
things like the rock wall, because I've seen so many
True.
teams tip
Flip.
over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, next week, in all reality, pretty much what's looking like the best team at the event, 4481, the Rembrandts, are not a low bar capable robot, so could be broken next week at NYC. Look out. Because I feel it.
Could be.
Could be, definitely.
Don't prove me. I challenge them to prove me wrong.
Alright. Can you say that in Dutch?
No.
What?
I don't think they're going to take the challenge, but maybe they'll take the capture. That was bad.
That was really bad.
That was bad. I'm done.
Now, oh god, okay, I should not have done that. We actually had to ban someone from my Slack today because they would not stop making bad puns. Yeah. Alright, next, back to the plan. This is not great. We only have 10 minutes left, actually. So, technically, we have viewer question time. So, throw your questions in the chat. We will answer them in a timely basis. But until then, predictions for next week.
I have a bold prediction for Pittsburgh just because we're going there. A lot of Western New York teams are going down. A lot of upstate and Western New York teams are going down to Pittsburgh this year. So there's going to be a ton of defense, in my opinion. Because upstate New York is always defense. If you look at FLR, defense wins the games.
That is true. Those upstate New York people, man, they're rough. Especially the
We-
Buffalo teams. You gotta watch out for them.
Oh, the Rochester teams, in my opinion.
They look
Shameless
pretty
plug.
bad. Are you a
Um,
Rochester team, Mr. Alex? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Anthony C?
Yeah. Some of the best defensive matches I've seen though have come out of like just teams from around Rochester, just because we play such hard defense. But that's again shameless plug.
Well, Anthony, you're not actually from Rochester. So,
Oh no, I'm from where again? Florida, right?
Oregon.
Oregon.
Yep.
Yeah.
997 Spartan Robotics.
Oh,
Yeah.
thought I was on Exploding Bacon.
No, I get to be
no,
exploding.
she's on Exploding Bacon.
And then I'm just sitting over here like,
No team, no name.
It's all right, Bobby. We still like you.
okay.
So, Bobby, next question. Can you cheesecake yourself?
For climbing?
Just anything.
Um,
I don't know. Nathan asked the question. and we
oh,
asked him
okay. In general, not for my team specifically.
To anybody.
I guess so. I mean, depends on what you're trying. If you're trying to cheesecake a advanced shooting mechanism or something, probably not. But like, if it's a climber or some sort of like, I know we're gonna add something to our robot for defense. It's kind of already good for defense, but I think we're gonna try to add some extra pieces. So that's just like some sticks of aluminum. So that should not be that bad.
Great answer, Bobby. Next person. Grace, do you think you could cheesecake yourself?
Yeah, I I'm a little concerned about the definition of cheesecake. Is it really cheesecake if you're cheesecaking yourself? Because, I mean, at least under my understanding of that, it's more like you buy parts at a Home Depot, you know, the night before, and you're like, oh, we gotta cheesecake this other team so we can win the regional or something like that. So I guess yes, but no. If that made any
And
sense.
Anthony, could you help us out?
Oh, cheesecaking will happen at Pittsburgh. 100%. We
Like
like
you-
our cheesecakes in upstate New York.
I can guarantee it's happening at NYC also.
Yeah, it's gonna happen at AZ North, I'm sure.
So I already have some dimensions for some portcullis wedges ready to go. So
I think that if I was going to start another FRC team, I would call them the Cheesecakes, and then
good.
and every year we would just be a drivetrain that couldn't do anything, or we were a drivetrain that could be a great drivetrain, and then we would be like convince people to cheesecake us.
Just better yet, call yourselves the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
Get a
great.
sponsorship.
And get
Yeah,
them to sponsor
exactly.
you, and then they'll sue you for stealing their name. But it's
Yeah,
all right.
Sue your sponsors.
So according Valerie has a pretty solid question. Is this game called BattleBots? And is it, guys? I'm not too sure.
No, it's called
No.
Stronghold.
Really? Valerie.
Maybe
Valerie.
not.
I don't know, after that gearbox exploded, it might be.
That's true. And if it is BattleBots, 254 has an edge above the rest.
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
So that's some scary stuff. Speaking of which, they still haven't released their robot. They have a name though, Drop Shot. So
Neither have Techezi Posse either, which is the one I'm looking forward to.
true.
That's 254.
Oh, I know the joke team, like also like the Ted Rob Knots. Also, they're pretty good too.
I got you. Do they actually build a wood one every year? I thought that was just 2014.
I don't know. That must have been just 2014, but they always have some joke.
Yeah, pretty much. Like last year, their robot picture was a corn dog.
Well, I mean, has 1678 if they
Nope.
released? Okay.
No, they don't usually do any sort of robot release though. Like even a picture, nothing. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll find out all of those teams next week. 1114 is playing next week. 254 is playing next week. 1678 is playing next week. 610, well, 610 already released their robot, but they're playing next week.
1126 is playing next week.
2869 is playing next week.
2122 is playing next week. We never release either.
Bobby?
Yeah.
They almost said it, though.
Is your team playing next week?
Yeah. But we don't have a release video or anything. We're like, we don't really want to embarrass ourselves by like putting out our robot and being like,
Bobby.
no, I'm just checking. I don't know why we don't have a release video. I guess we were
Bobby, you-
building it
You
until
gotta
the
get
last.
on that. Because if there's not a release video next week from team, what's your team number?
Aha! No, 4404.
If there's not a release video for 4104 next year, I'm gonna
4404.
blame. It's okay. I'm gonna blame it on Bobby. Okay.
Okay.
You're never gonna see a release video.
We
for
have
teams.
reveal videos.
We do too. We were
We have
the
reveal
first
videos.
reveal video on the internet.
No, we
Except the catch with ours is we release them after the season's over.
yeah.
Really.
We don't release any media,
Yep.
any real videos, pretty much ever.
You know, I was pretty proud of us being the first on the internet. It ended up gathering up like 7,000 views within less than a week and stuff. So, I mean,
Not to
118
brag.
got 40,000 views in less than a week, but close enough. I mean, if you go by the number of blue banners, so 2869 is up there with 0, and then 118 I think has a couple dozen. So I mean, reveal views to blue banners, I think we have them beat.
Hey, that's what matters.
It's all about the views to blue banner ratio.
Of course.
That's what they're gonna evaluate like chairmans off of or something.
Yeah.
Just, like, troll everybody.
Safety award, right? Just something really random.
Safety. What award? There's a safety award.
Yeah, wait, what's safety?
Did you hear the person on Mar? They called it the underwater safety award. The
Oh, yeah.
I did not hear that.
Yeah,
That sounds
the
great.
underwater lab safety award instead of underwriters labs. I actually died.
I've probably accidentally done that before.
Yeah. I was just like, ooh. That's a mistake, and no one's gonna let that guy leave that down. And it's 8:57, so we have 3 minutes left. So let's spit out. There's no questions this week, so that's great. Mr. Sandman's talking about something with a drivetrain with no wheels. So I don't know what he's doing. Yeah. Oh,
actually
Brad
had a
has a
question.
joke. Why can't Symbiotics go on long trips? Brad has to answer the joke, so we gotta wait for
I'll
Brad.
answer it for Brad. I'll answer it for Brad because I know this joke. They always get car thick.
Oh.
That's literally worse than the puns I made when we were putting rivets in our robot, and I was like, man, this is a riveting day. But, that was even worse.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Wait, I actually
Why?
have something I just remembered. I had it in my notes that I was of troll strategies for Stronghold.
Oh, okay.
And-
I'm ready.
What if you had a cycling bot that took all the balls and put them in your secret passage, and then when they tried to go in there, you just hit them and get 5 points, and you hit them again.
Yeah, but they
and
could
again.
just get balls out of their secret passage.
But they're eventually going to shoot them into your tower, which are going to roll out into your secret passage.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you have a good amount behind your wall, right?
3.
Is it just 3? Alright.
Yeah. You start. There's starts with.
Wait, no, but there's the rule, like, if you don't enter the balls into the game field, then within, like, a timely fashion, then you can get a card.
There's
Well, they're
there's
in the field.
18 boulders in the game. 6 start on the midline, and up to 3 for each alliance. Any that do not go to the alliance, do not start in a robot, are then put behind the appropriate alliance's castle. There's also 3 that start in each castle. The ruling is that if there is 6, or if there's more than 6 boulders in your castle, and you do not make a reasonable effort to get them onto the field, then you will start getting fouls.
Yep.
But if you put them in your secret passage, that's the field, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you could somehow get most of the balls in there, and they were primarily only shooting Alliance.
Bobby, you're not supposed to tell everybody your strategy a week before so the GDC can put us in a game update.
And you also realize
I'm not
that-
actually going to do that. We're not fast enough to do that.
Well,
Alright.
they're also going to be scoring all those goals, so I think they're going to win still.
Yeah.
Just a hunch.
Well, I would still want to do it if just to troll people.
Oh, it would be great.
It would be pretty funny.
That would be fun.
But I'm sure the refs wouldn't like it too much. And I'm definitely sure you're not winning the GP award. That one. But hey, they have all that decided by elimination, so it's free game.
Who needs the GP, right?
Listen, I mean, the GP award has some fierce competition at our competitions. Did you see that in the chat?
Oh, I remember seeing that, and I was
Oh, yeah.
thinking we've never had fierce competition for GP award.
Wait, does that qualify you for Worlds or something?
No,
No.
not even
Oh, okay.
close.
No.
There's a bunch of like stupid awards that don't give you anything, and then there's like
Yeah.
actual ones that matter.
It's like everybody wants Chairman's Engineering Inspiration or win the event. Is basically what you want. Even being a finalist captain, you have a pretty good chance.
Well, then there's the rookie awards that
The RAS
Yeah.
is a good one.
we
Um,
got. That so I I was on a different team my freshman year because I switched schools,
Uh-huh.
and we got that my freshman year, and it was pretty funny because we were a terrible robot, but we just like had good notebooks and stuff, and so they gave us the All-Star Award. So we showed up at Worlds, and everyone was like way better than us, and we were like, yeah, we can't do anything.
Nice. What do they call it? The Rookie All-Star Award is going to be really competitive this year at my regional because there's like 13 or 14 rookie teams, something like that. So that's going to be fun. Just seeing who wins that. Being there's like, I think, is it like 8 of them are international teams.
Oh, yeah.
So like a good amount are Turkish, good amount are Chinese. There's one British. So that's gonna be a cool award to see who wins that one. Then there's like imagery, safety.
Team spirit.
Oh, that's a great one. Come on, that one's really hard to win actually. So again with safety too. There's always like one team that just like goes like crazy above, like, and they just have like a fire like department. Like they bring the actual fire department with them. They like drive the fire truck into the facility. They have like an entire wall of their pit dedicated to like
Safety
battery
gear.
spill kits, and like they call it a day.
Those teams they can get on my nerves.
Yeah, they're annoying.
And that with people yelling robot
Oh my
over and over.
I told my entire team it's against the rules, so they don't do it, and they all believe me.
See, for the safety teams, I'm just gonna go over and like while they're at a match, I'm gonna steal all their safety glasses, so that then they get like safety penalties or whatever. And then
I have to laugh. I mean,
Real question though, how are you gonna steal their safety glasses? They should be wearing them.
oh, like they're excess because if they
You
have
know.
a fire department, they probably have 8 pairs each.
Ah,
Yeah, that's true.
then I could see that.
You're also not winning GP once again, Bobby.
That's out the window.
Well, we know which team's not getting the GP award.
Team 4104.
No,
The-
44.
You're still off.
I tried. 4404?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it? The Nuts and Colts, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I got the name right.
No.
So, that's pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah. And your guys are like Tater Robotics, something like that.
Team Taters. Everyone knows where we're from.
Yep. I immediately was like, Idaho. I mean,
Yep.
I don't eat tater tots.
The wasteland?
Yes,
The
it's a
waste-
wasteland.
Wasteland.
Wasteland, Idaho, as some of our mentors refer to it.
Nice. I mean, you guys have a regional this year, so.
We do, and it's been a crazy effort to get it there. And we have a whopping 25 teams coming. Pretty much
wow.
less than most districts, and no.
Here,
no
this
stuff.
is what I feel bad for. The one team that's not getting chosen for eliminations.
Well, in
Well,
this
I feel
game,
bad.
you're gonna have like
What
3
happens if 2 bots break into limbs?
Yeah,
Well, that-
you're screwed.
Yep.
My friend, there was like this like non-first competition last year, but it was like still it was after World.
Like opera? Or Accra, rather?
No, it was just for Missouri. It was like
Okay.
Missouri championships just for the state, and it was like in June or something. I don't remember. But anyways, when my friend's team went there and they won, but they were the last pick on the alliance. There was only 27 teams that showed up, and so it was like, yeah, we won. I was like, wait, you didn't win. You were. Would that be hilarious if your team uniform was ref shirts, and so everyone thought you were refs? Then your coaches were like walking around like judging people.
Either that or
Another
like
reason we're not getting the
inspector
GP
shirts or volunteer shirts or something.
Yeah. There's some teams that have shirts very similar to the judge color shirts, and it's a little weird when you see just a swarm of judges hit the field. And, like, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
I've seen that. Like, or the people that have like the same shirts as like the lead FTA.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I don't understand why you would ever do that, but some teams have, which is great. Speaking of which, do any of you guys want to volunteer once you end your first life
Yep.
as a student?
Yep.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at colleges,
You're
looking
like,
for teams.
where's the team around this one? Oh, I want to go to college around Silicon Valley.
Yeah. My first choice actually holds a regional, so
What is it? WPI?
RIT.
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 Okay.
Ooh, I want to go there.
Yeah.
That's
So
on my list.
That's on mine.
yeah, so that's hopefully gonna happen.
I'm kind of more into going down than up. 'Cause
Oh,
we
RIT's
snow.
great, man. Have you been to visit?
Well, I haven't been to visit. It's a nice campus.
It's a bit bland because it's solid brick,
Uh-huh.
but all the people there are very nice and it's a very good program.
But I mean, I just don't like the snow. Dealt with it for long enough. Maybe I can just go to college in Idaho. Heard they didn't get too much snow this
Oh
year.
no, we usually get a lot of snow. We just didn't get much this year.
That's cool.
Pretty much everywhere except for where I live gets just completely dumped.
You gotta get a degree in like potato management or something.
Yeah, something.
Are your
like that.
snowplows made out of potatoes?
Yeah, we have a potato-powered robot. That's what our batteries are. We really just have a battery case over them with our radio. It's also a potato. We have hash browns too for our, wheels.
Oh, nice. You can do some pretty fun theming stuff with that.
So
Yeah.
if you buy like McDonald's hash browns, are they COTS parts?
Yes. They're
Do you have to,
they're
do you have to add that? to your
as
list?
long as you don't like touch them, because as soon as you touch them, grease is gonna come off of them, and they're gonna start breaking, and then they're modified parts. So.
I don't know. I feel like those hash browns would be saturated enough with grease at this point if they're McDonald's.
Guys,
You don't have to re-grease
where'd
them.
all our spare wheels go? We've been eating them.
Why would you want to eat them? That's the first question.
Pulling an all-nighter and then you accidentally eat the wheels. Dang it.
Yeah.
No, actually, the only reason Idaho's famous for potatoes is because some rich guy made a deal with McDonald's to sell them our potatoes, and then now we're just kind of screwed with that. So,
Nice.
we have potatoes, but we also have Micron, which does, computer chips. We have HP. That's
yeah, and then they have potatoes also.
They have potatoes
So,
also.
My town used to be a potato farm, and then we built the lunar module. So I mean, we got a little step up.
Yeah, my town. Actually, I've never actually farmed potatoes, so
So you're really not from Idaho, is what you're telling me.
Idaho's just a conspiracy invented by the